You're recording. Go ahead.
Oh. All right, Jess. Rob is not here today. He has a meeting down in Ohio, learning lots of new stuff for us, hopefully. One thing real quick, if you notice that the provision office is empty, they are switching agents. And we will have a new one probably next week. Yes. You guys, I told you not to be mean to our people. We'll sit down leadership in the next week or two with the potential candidate or candidates and see what's going on and get us a good one. So I will say we're upping the game. This one's going to be even better. Michelle did a good job. There was a lot of information she had. She helped you guys out. No. We'll find that out and let you guys know. All right. Couple things. This will be a relatively short meeting, but some good information. We'll play a little game after David's done. But one of the things I want to talk about, you guys, who's doing deals out there right now? Trying is good right now. Is it getting crankier than usual with agents? I'm telling you right now, I can't keep up with all the problems I'm having right now with agents. Our agents, clients not happy with our agents not happy with the other side. We can't control the other side. We can certainly control how we act and how we treat our clients, because some of the stories I'm hearing are not good, okay? And it's easy to sit there and say, it's the client's fault, or the client's crank, or the client's an idiot. When I hear the same comments all the time, I really have to take a look at what we're doing in the office and what the agents are doing. And
give us like a example.
yeah,
Not from anybody.
no, I mean, extending listings without your client's permissions. I'm not sure why anybody would need to extend a listing in today's world. Okay. However, it's happening. We've got a lot of the problems, you guys, agent to agent, is still how people are writing purchase agreements. I can't emphasize enough about putting floors in contracts. It's easy to sit here and, well, and if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, when you're writing a PA contingent upon, an appraisal guarantee for $300,000, and you're going to guarantee 325 or 25,000 up to 325, and then it comes in at 260, and your buyer thinks that they're getting a house for 260 or 280 or whatever. It's not going to happen. People aren't going to sell their house for that low amount, or they're going to fight you on it. And so one thing, Matt, that I thought was going to be in here that did not show up. You got to make sure that there's some type of understanding between buyers and sellers if the home does not appraise for the minimum. Because I've probably done 5 or 6 in the office in the last week where people have had problems. A couple of them have come together because cooler heads prevailed and there was a meeting of the mind somewhere in the middle. But you had a problem before with a floor, right, on one of your deals? The agent didn't want it, or?
No, oh yeah, she wanted me to take it out.
Right.
Yeah.
I had another one this weekend. Yeah, I had another one this weekend, the same story, where the agent on the other side didn't want a floor on a deal where it was clearly benefiting her client. But agents don't understand it. And the good part, all you guys are involved in coming into the office and trying to learn. It's the problems start with the agents that are not involved. They're not doing business. They're the old timers that do 1 or 2 deals a year, and they don't know how to handle this market. And again, I can't control the others, the agents outside our office. But we as an office, and Rob and I talked a little bit stuff over the weekend, we've got to find a way to get, our people are engaged, but not everybody's engaged, and they're not engaged to the amount they need to be. If agents are out there, now is not a good time to be practicing real estate. You know, I mean, practice in real estate, it's the people doing 1 and 2 deals a year that are clogging up the system and having problems. The only thing I can tell you guys is you really need to make sure you're staying involved. The conversations that we have with you guys sitting in here, and that's why for everybody online, and I've talked to a few people about this. David, I know will vouch for this. Do you get more coming into work or staying home?
Every time coming into work.
You will learn by the process of osmosis just being here. I'm telling you that. And it's so easy to, if you have a question, what can you do? Walk down the hall, talk to David, talk to Sharon, talk to Matt. I know Mike talks to us, Megan comes in and talks to us. You guys, I don't want to say it's time to come into work, but I think as an office, we've done a great job over the last 15 months, if you can believe that. Yes.
And I would also say that coming in and asking questions or talking about stuff doesn't mean you're inexperienced and don't know what you're doing. Because there's so much new, weird stuff that all of us are seeing every day that it's just about sharing it.
Yeah, it is, you guys. I hear the stories not only from everybody in the room. I talk to a lot of agents outside, and it's comical. But I will tell you, the conversations that I have with our agents in here, agents in the rest of the area around here aren't having the same conversation. So it's a new phenomenon for a lot of people. I really want to get everybody back into the office and work. So I know that some people are still a little leery about COVID. Hopefully, as each day goes on, everybody's comfort level goes up. So please, if you have questions or problems, don't look to take shortcuts right now, because shortcuts are going to blow up on you, whether it's when you're writing an offer or you're trying to negotiate something. Is the inventory getting better?
Yeah.
Is it? Pretty much. Sharon, Megan, you guys?
A little bit, I think so. I think things are starting to kind of calm down.
Can't see everything.
Showing on the listing in Royal Oak, so that told me that inventory is back a little bit.
Oh, good. Unfortunately, I got to look at the big board so I can see the writing. Brent, what's going on? This is not your whole thing, but what's going on? Do you think, are things getting better or worse from your perspective?
Or
nothing yet.
They're pretty stable, but Fannie Mae is a good entity to follow when you're looking at forecasts, because they just recalculate what they predict for the year on both purchase and mortgage applications, somewhere in the $100 billion volume range. So they see a brighter year ahead. For both,
meaning
because rates have come down when they were expected to go up. We talked about that at the beginning of the year. We started to see rates in the 3.5% range again at the beginning. And now we're back in a 2.875, 2.99 30-year market. I mean, that's going to drive both refi and purchase applications. They're seeing builders get caught up, even though there's some shortages on materials and pricing. But they are forecasting more applications, more transactions on both the refi and purchase side.
good. All right. Anybody have any questions or concerns on the market or anything there? Yes.
So recently I've had 2 closings that were both, I was on the list side. Both of them went for considerably above ask and had appraisal guarantees. But one, we listed at 400. We accepted 452 with the full appraisal guarantee. Appraisal came in at 452, which I was blown away by. Another one I listed at 470, accepted 533, came in at 525. So these appraisals are starting to catch up a little bit.
That's why I wanted to ask Brent. I've had 2 low appraisals in the past 2 weeks. And I feel like when I said I think things are starting to kind of calm down, I think some buyers are starting to sit back and say, hold on, this is crazy. And what do you see on the appraisal side? I'm starting to see, is there like some control maybe? Are they starting to?
Well, we talked about it. I think there's definitely still a little bit of a gap in some cases where the market cannot keep up comparable wise to the demand that's out there, but we're seeing less of it. And what I've noticed is when you use like a really big lender, a really big bank that has like the pull to, extensively expand their appraiser network, you're just like anything else, when you have to hire really fast. What did we see last year? We saw turn times on mortgage applications go up because you had less experienced underwriters working on files. We saw more problems, more issues arise. And then it all got, everybody got trained to kind of flattened out, and then turn times got good again. But now I'm seeing the appraisal side, it almost seems like there's a new wave of new appraisers, or appraisers that are taking on so much work that they're not doing as great of a job at maybe identifying the best comps, where a newer appraiser is going to identify comps that are like the same square footage.
Stay in the box.
They're really going to stay in the box, and they really try to stay like within 1 mile, but that's not always the best way to find comp. Like we had an example, we brought up in one of the classes I taught, where this was on a small inland lake, and this appraiser, the second appraiser went out and came and got small inland lake comps from Oxford, Lake Orion, Clarkston, went out about 8-10 miles, but now the second appraisal came in at 630, and the first one came in at like 558. Like, it was a major difference, but it saved the deal.
Yeah. I think hopefully it's going to slow down a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I think that if inventory is getting better, when I say slow down, it doesn't mean slow down. It just means,
Not crazy.
yeah, the prices may start to level off. Anybody behind me have anything they want to add at this point?
I do. Just real quick.
Of course you do.
Of course I do. No, just a quick thing on an appraisal, because like Matt was saying, when he was surprised about where one of his came back at, I had this, like, that it came back so close or on. I had the same situation. I mean, there were no comps to support the value that we got, really. And they did some good adjustments, but what the appraiser did is she actually reached out to the listing agent of another one that was pending down the street and asked what they were pending at, and used that information, I think, to help justify the value. So I'm always getting a list of any updates and the money that's been put into the house to give the appraiser, because sometimes they're not aware of that. We have the comps that we give them, but if you've got something else pending in the neighborhood or close that's a comp, it may not be a bad idea to reach out to that agent and see if they'd be willing to share, how many offers they had, what it was listed at, depending on how close they are to closing. They may be willing to share some of that information. And it's just additional information that you can share with the appraiser. They may or may not use it, but it may help in this, especially as values are going up kind of faster than things are closing. So I think that was like the reason that we ended up getting the value that we did. So I just wanted to share
All
that.
right. Hey, while I'm looking at the screen on another subject here, Kai and Hope both had their first closings this week, correct?
Yay. Yes, I did.
Yay for Kai and yay for Hope. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is anybody else up there? I don't think I did. Anybody in here? Okay. All right. We had blessed with David Fisher is going to teach us. Is he teaching us? Buyer's consultations. Do we need a buyer?
Yes.
And who's that buyer going to be? I guess I'm the buyer for the buyer's consultation. Should I mess with them, you guys?
Yeah.
Should I be the buyer from help?
Yes.
Isn't everybody right now?
They don't turn up until after you.
Right.
Okay.
I'll get up and walk away.
David's going, "Yeah, this is what you do when you don't want to deal with the buyer." All right. Do I need to look at this or no?
No, you don't need that. Hey, Mr. Costa, how you doing today?
Good, do it, David. Doing very well.
Well, I wanted to meet with you to go over the buying process and make sure you know everything, up front so there's no pitfalls. And I also want to tell you a little bit about myself. That's okay.
Perfect.
All right, first thing I want to start off with is my resume. I started real estate in 2013 at a smaller brokerage, Bowers Realty, and they were instrumental in building a good foundation for me and making sure I put people first. She taught me that if you chase the money, that you won't have business. But if I do what's right by you, just like your friend referred you to me, hopefully you will refer your family and friends to me if I show you a great experience.
Perfect.
I left there and went to another small brokerage, and I did well, but Keller Williams reached out to me and they paid for me to go to a boot camp that they have every year called Bold. And I realized from that I was in a very small pond. There was a whole ocean that I wasn't aware of. I've been with Keller Williams for about 4 years now. I made the switch because they have great technology and great systems that help me benefit my clients. It helps me build a bigger business. If that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
The second page of that is references. If you want to reach out to anybody. Pete, if we want to find a house for you tomorrow, I'm still going to be an important part of your life for 30 to 40 days. You want to make sure you know.
I want 30 to 40 years, David.
Most you can get 40 days. Do you have any questions for me?
No, that's very good.
Okay. Well, I have some questions for you.
All right.
And some of these we went over, but I like to have this sheet on my desk so every morning I can prospect for properties for you. The first question is, where are you moving and why are you buying?
Well, looking for a bigger house in a good location.
Okay, that makes sense. And what made you decide now is the time to move?
I figured I could sell my house for a lot of money.
That's true. I can promise you when we sell your house, you're going to get top dollar, but that takes me to another point. When it's a great seller's market, it's not a great buyer's market. So we're going to have to be flexible and really be able to go above and beyond to make sure you get in a better neighborhood and have more space. We'll talk a little more about that a little later. And if we had a magic wand, we just wave a magic wand and you'd be moved. What date would you like to accomplish that?
September 1st, I'd like to be in.
Okay, great, awesome. And who all will be living with you in the new home?
Just my girlfriend and I.
Okay, great. And the only reason I asked is because I want to have a good idea of how much space we need and how you'll be utilizing that space. And if we were to find a home, and I stole like all of this mostly from Captain Esky. If we were, yeah, right. I don't want Jeff to be like, I did
This
this.
sounds familiar.
Right. If we were to find a home today that fits all your criteria, would that pose a problem for you, Pete? And if so, what would that be?
Well, I need to sell my house first before I can buy.
Okay, so selling your house will not be an issue at all.
But I don't want to be homeless.
So I'm gonna be honest with you, Pete. And I mean, everybody handles this different, but I err on the side of honesty. If you're in a position that you have to sell to buy, but you don't have a plan B, this may not be the market to sell in. Buying a home is not as easy as say buying a car right now. Okay,
Actually, it
that's
probably
bad
is.
example.
It's hard to buy a car too these days.
Not as easy. It's not as easy as we're used to in the market. And I want to brace you for what the home buying experience is going to be. I'm gonna skip a little bit ahead and tell you about the buying process. We're gonna go look at homes. You're gonna see one you love. You're gonna walk and say, David, this is it. We're gonna put in an offer. Traditionally, this is when the offer gets accepted and we move forward. But there's so low inventory, we're seeing 10, 15, 20 offers on homes. So it takes me to the next step. We have a private home inspection. After we get offer accepted, that's the next step in the process. What we're seeing buyers do is they're shortening inspection times to 2, 3, 5 days, and sometimes even waiving the inspection. Now, Pete, I can't tell you that I would waive a home inspection because I would like to know what I'm buying before I buy it. But I want to make you aware of what's going on in the market. After the home inspection is the appraisal. The appraisal is more so for the bank than it is for you. They want to make sure that if you move into this nice house, this nice neighborhood, and you never make a payment, that they can recoup their money from this property. And they're going to send an appraiser out, and he's going to do a market value of the home, and that's what the bank will be willing to pay. Appraisers find value from homes that sold 30, 60, sometimes 90 days ago, and the rate the market is going, they can't keep up with the price of homes. especially when we're going highest and best, and people are, and I'm sure you've seen on the news, people are offering over asking price.
I don't want to offer, I want to go under asking price.
You're that buyer? Yeah, I'm definitely cutting you this is buyer. Right now, the asking price is the starting price. There's the deal is getting the house. What most buyers are doing, and I haven't had a deal accepted all year without an appraisal guarantee. And what that means is we're saying, okay, you're asking for 350, and we're offering 375. Well, we're gonna put our money where our mouth is, and we're gonna guarantee you that if the house doesn't appraise at this value, we're gonna make up the difference. We can cap it and say we'll go up to 5, 10 grand, but a good rule of thumb is if you're gonna go over asking, you want to try to match that number. Now, again, this is a crazy market, but that's what's happening to get offers accepted. After the appraisal, we go into final underwriting. The lender,
He left.
good. The lender is going to ask you for everything they've already asked you for. It's going to be frustrating, but I can promise you it's going to happen. After you send them everything from, bank statements to W-2s, you're going to get final underwriting and clear to close. The whole process takes anywhere from 30 to 40 days. Do you have any questions about the buying process or
No,
what that looks like?
I think we're good there.
Okay. And a few more questions. I usually went over this first. Do you have any idea what price range you're comfortable with?
Well, I went online and I did some figuring, got pre-qualified online.
Okay, and can I ask what lender you got approved with?
XYZ Mortgage Company.
XYZ Mortgage. I haven't had the pleasure of hearing from them. I hear about them.
They're online and I think they're out of Texas.
Okay, great. So remember we talked about the market and the
Best rate mortgage company you should have used.
yeah, best rate. So Pete, the market being what it is, we've talked about a little bit. I want to be able to have the strength to call the listing agent and say, hey, I can vouch for my buyer's ability to make it to a closing table. And because you nor I have ever heard of XYZ before, you found them online, I would like to give my lender a call and get pre-approved through them. I'm sure they'll match whatever rates you're getting from XYZ.
Okay, that sounds a good idea.
Awesome. And Pete, what days and times usually best to schedule showings?
Oh, I'm unemployed and don't have a job right now.
These are worth anytime you want.
No, I'm retired. I can go anytime.
Awesome. That's great, especially in this market. Then I would ask you about more square footage, bedroom, style of home, and all that. So Pete, now that we've made it past that part of the process, this is more of a customer service, if you will,
Okay,
and make sure that you're happy with the service you get, not only from me, but from the lender of mine you'll be using and the title company. I want to make sure they're all on the same page, giving you the service that you expect and deserve. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being not desirable and 10 being this was great, what will make this transaction a 10 for you?
the most important thing, David, is communication. Make sure you're communicating with me. Even if you don't think it's important, it's probably going to be important to me.
Okay, and I can do that. And the great thing is that I make sure that at least weekly we're talking about what's going on in our process. But in this market, we'll probably be seeing each other every day. And once we get on the contract, I'll make sure that we keep you up to date every step of the way so you're never in the dark. And because I hear communication a lot, if there's one other thing that we could add to this transaction to make sure that it was great for you, what would that be?
Along with communication, I want to make sure that you tell me truthfully what I need to do. Don't try to tell me something that you're trying to blow smoke up my behind. Just be upfront with me.
I'm happy you said that. The next question is do I have permission to be honest with you?
Yes, you do. I'd rather you be completely honest with me.
Great. And I ask that because sometimes honesty can be a hard thing to accept. But as long as I have your permission to be honest, I will always let you know what's happening, how it's happening, and we'll deal with it accordingly.
Perfect.
Do you have any specific expectations other than getting your home sold and getting your next home?
No, I just want to make sure the deal, like I say, with communication, I want the deal to go smoothly. And if something does come up, just let me know.
Okay, great. And what do you feel we have the right to expect from you?
For me to be honest with you and to, I know it's a sense of urgency in today's market, what you're telling me. It's making sure that I give you information as I need it when it's time for the mortgage company or when we're looking at homes, not to get upset, me to get upset with you while we're going through this process, because if you're asking me something, I'm sure it's important, so we need to take care of that.
You turned out to be a pretty good buyer.
Wonderful life.
Right? So
And now we're gonna critique this.
a few more things. I wanted you to have this. It's just a sheet of people that I use. Just meet the team.
Okay,
People work with me because of my team and the people around me. I use pillar to post for home inspections. The inspection is simple. The inspection report is simple and easy to read. And he also makes it easy by being there and explaining everything to you in a 3-step process. So you know exactly what's going on with the home.
perfect.
The next is Legacy Title. It's a title company that I use. I actually use premium services. It's a extra expense for me. But what it does is if I'm in a meeting like we're in now and you need information or paperwork signed, they'll take care of it so that you're just not at the mercy of my schedule. The third is one of the lenders I use. I've been working with them for a few years. His name is Greg Goddard. You can give him a call and he'll make sure to get you approved for financing. The last is my showing agents in my office. So I can only be in one place at one time. And with the market the way it is, you may end up working with some of the agents that help me show homes. And that's again, so you're not at the mercy of my schedule. The last thing I want is for you to find your dream home at 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. that night. It's off the market and I couldn't show it to you because of my schedule. So you'll be working with a few agents, me, myself, and Tasha Scott, for the most part, we'll be showing you homes.
Okay,
If you have any questions or anything, you can always feel free to reach out to both of us, but I feel like 2 heads are better than one in this situation in this market.
okay,
And this sheet's just real estate terms to know. You'll hear EMD or CTC, which means earnest money deposit, which is the money that takes the property off the market. And CTC is clear to close. You'll hear these terms. I just want you to be aware of them. And if there's anything that's not on that sheet or we're going too fast or the lender says something you don't understand, feel free to call me. I want to make sure we're on the same page and you know what's going on and jargon doesn't get in the way of that.
good idea.
Now we're gonna go over the purchase agreement and well, I'm not gonna actually do that part, but that's where we go over the purchase agreement and what that means. That feels like a piece of forms.
Everybody to go to Pete's Homes. Okay,
So the reason, and I should have taken notes, the reason I do, everything has like a reason to it. I start off with the resume to build rapport and to kind of let them know that I'm a professional.
hold on one second. Now let's get Pete out of Pete the buyer here and Pete
Okay.
broker here. Okay. What did you guys think David did for good? And this is not putting David on the spot.
Please.
First thing I was gonna bring up is the resume. Okay. Who in here uses a written resume for their clients?
Not yet.
Send it.
Okay. I think it's a great idea. I really do. Yeah, he's got references on it. It's not that long, obviously. And again, you guys, once it's done, you shouldn't have to do anything with it unless you want to add on some more references on it. I think it's a great idea for him to use. Okay. So I think if you're not using it, it certainly wouldn't hurt. Now, I know a lot of you, is most of your business repeat and referral?
At this point, yeah.
I'd say if your business is repeat and referral, it's good to use one. But if it's mostly people you're digging up with no connection, I think it's really good. I mean, it might be the difference between you getting it, at bat with somebody or not. So I think that's a great idea. When Dave, the hard part was I was going to write notes, but I was going to throw both of us off. So probably gonna lose some. what did you guys like and what did you take out of this? Good.
I love that. Can I be honest with your question? Now, that was their last time I was in, so that's it.
Yes, no.
And I really, it's a legitimate question, so put on one.
Well, and that's a Keller Williams, if you go to all their classes, on a scale of 1 to 10, how honest can I be with you? And you're right, some people think they want you to be honest with them, but then when you're brutally honest, and I gave David, and in this market, okay, where would the honesty come in from his point of view? If we're writing offers and we're getting our behind kicked on every one of them, and he's telling me stuff and I'm not listening, then he's got my permission to say, hey, we're not going anywhere unless you make some changes. Okay. We're going to keep losing deals unless you make some changes. And that is a great one, especially in today's market.
And it lines with buyers, it lines me up to say, hey, do you remember the consultation where you gave me permission to be honest? Well, here, and I start every time with that. And then bam, hit it with honesty. You can't get mad if you told me you wanted
Right.
the honesty from the beginning.
If you listen to David, I mean, did you read something? Did he have a teleprompter? This is all scripts.
Yeah.
And then we say this to coaching all types of scripts, and it's practicing it so it becomes fluid. Obviously, this isn't the first time David's done it. It's awkward, it's weird,
Yeah.
but it's scripts. And I really like how you address objections. Even before it was an objection, you asked him where he got finance from. And you knew that that was going to be an issue down the line. So instead of waiting it to blow up and have it be an issue, you brought up right there that that's great. This is what I would recommend doing. This is why. So an objection doesn't have to be when someone says it to you. You can address it up front. And I think the way you explain different things of how you're going to overcome those hurdles gives him peace of mind that this guy's navigating the waters.
There was some of the stuff I was doing, I was trying to take you down a path, obviously, that most buyers, wouldn't. And that was one of the things I specifically did because I wanted to see what you were going to say. And guess what? That's going to happen. People are going to do that exact same thing I did and say, hey, I went online. Well, and David reeled it right back in and said, okay, here's the problem. Let's deal with it. There was some other stuff I wanted to bring, but I didn't want to take it way sideways. All right, what else, you guys? Yes.
I really liked how he asked the buyer, what do you feel is fair to me to ask for you?
What do you expect of me?
Right.
Or was it fair for us to expect
From you, yeah.
I liked how it puts them in the position that we're working at this together. Like I'm not here, I'm not here just to do whatever you want. We're in this together.
And that's true. I mean, there's nothing wrong with you stating what you expect from them, okay? Because it all goes back to the same thing, communication. If you guys can't communicate with people, you're not gonna have them it's gonna be a hell of a deal in the negative way. So. Anybody else in here?
I thought it was good how you started to set expectations about your schedule. Like there might be times that I'm in an appointment, I can't answer my phone, or I might need someone else to show for me.
It makes them not feel put off. Because if you wait until it happens and they feel like
You're dumping them.
Yeah.
And it's actually, you guys, well, did they get this?
Yeah.
Okay. In the, it's in there. I mean, so there's no misunderstanding. It's clearly in there. And you guys hear me at class all the time. It's not what you say, it's when you say it. And there's a huge difference if David brings it right up front or you're dumping me, because you got to go golfing.
Right.
Tim,
Well,
well, how do we lose this?
It's just in the middle.
They're still all there.
Anybody online want to talk about what they liked and
Or didn't like.
didn't like? Is David's willing to accept
I love
potential?
criticism.
Right.
Hey Pete, this is Andrea.
I'm a big proponent of presenting all the paperwork.
That's the old, yeah.
What's that?
Oh.
That's all. No, I think it's great because whether you spend some time or not, depending on how your buyer consultation goes, it gives your buyers the opportunity to review it so that when you do make that offer, they're not freaking out on a Saturday night because they haven't had a chance to.
Or
One
freaking
thing-
me out on Saturday night.
Yes. One thing though, you took it to the next level because I just realized you've got some of the dumbed down language in the blanks of what goes in these blanks. which is really
Oh, you
cool.
filled it out?
Yeah, just so you know where the legal description goes. I put legal description, offer numerical.
Yeah, it's not just blank. You actually are putting it, just use update on it.
Yeah, right.
You guys, I mean, I talk about that all the time. Buying a house is an emotional business, especially in today's market. If somebody's fired up to write an offer and all of a sudden you're going through a PA with them, it's the first time they've seen it, and you're going line by line or paragraph by paragraph, that high that they were on is going to end up at a low, and they're going to say, maybe I'm not ready. And in the meantime, guess what happens? They may lose the house that they wanted. If they've got the information, and just over the time when you're, showing homes, say, hey, did you have a chance to go with the PA? Is there anything, you have any questions on it? And the other part about that is if they're going to have an attorney review their PA, it's a conversation that we had up front to say, if you are going to have an attorney review it because you think that's what you need to do, why don't you give it to them now? Because if you wait to give it to them when you're writing the offer, you're not getting that offer. Because 10 other people are going to have their offer in long before yours ever got in there. And will they say, well, I don't need the number. The numbers won't be there. The attorney's not reviewing the PA for the numbers. They're reviewing it for the context. Okay. They don't need to see what the numbers are, what you're writing the offer for. All right. Anybody online? Nobody's got a question.
Hey, Pete, I have a question.
Andrea?
yeah.
How come I can't hear Andrea? Help. Help.
Can you hear me now?
Okay. Where's Jess?
Me?
Andrea, we can hear you online.
Anybody
Yeah,
hear
oh.
any comments?
Actually, I would like to throw a comment in there. I've been talking about it in the coaching sessions. What I've been doing with a lot of my appointments lately is I talk about my role to them in there. And in the process, I'm discussing essentially the buyer's agency, exclusive buyer's agency agreement and contract for that. So I discussed that it is my goal, that it's my role, my duty to represent you in your best interests. I'm here working on your behalf to find you the home that you feel most comfortable in. I'm not here to sell a home for a buyer. I'm here to sell it, or for the seller. I'm not
Right.
here just to get you somewhere and get you out of here. I want to make sure you're knowledgeable, you're caught up to speed. And I kind of go over a bit of that right up front. That's one of the things I've been.
No, that's exactly right, Mike. I mean,
So
the more info, you guys, I'll ask this question. I ask this all the time. Old timers. Anybody know who Cy Sims is? Used to be a clothing store in Southfield. And their tagline was, an educated consumer is our best customer. And it's the same thing, exactly what you're saying.
That's all it worked out for them.
They're out of business. They might be out of business.
in the process of
I didn't
doing
say
that,
best for the company, I said for the consumer.
in the process of doing that, what I'm doing is I'm also building a little more rapport and trust with that, while also adding some of your questions are great. And then at the very end of the consultation, I like to kind of bring it back up. And at that point, we're looking at documents, hey, this is what we talked about.
Yeah.
This
Yes.
is something you're
And
That's great.
That's more so, and I touch on it when we go over the disclosure, but that's on the other side of the packet with the PA disclosure, the affiliated business. That's all on like the second half. In my mind, I've got it broken down into two halves. Is that first half, and then it's going over paperwork, getting the
Totally
side
understand.
exposures
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
Actually,
But you're right, it actually might work better to have that more upfront to build. The quicker you build that rapport, the better off you are in that appointment.
yeah, like, I love the idea. You have to resonate with it. That'd also be a great opportunity to throw that in there while you're talking about yourself, also talk about your whole
Right.
relationship. going forward.
And the other thing that he's got in here, his team, we all have our teams, right? We all use a mortgage company. We all use a title company. Put it out right up front so they don't think they're on an island. And, what's more impressive? David Fisher or David Fisher and his team. Okay, so that's another good thing. All right, Andre, did you have something?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, girl.
Okay. I just wanted to ask, what does somebody do if they don't have real estate related experience in their resume to share with the buyer during the consultation? How do you handle that?
I think that if you've done anything in life, even if it was volunteer work or a past career, there's a way to relate that to real estate. And if you have nothing, I would just use the office as I've attended Pete's forums these many times. I've attended these classes. I would just use that as my resume.
And David's got a great point with that. You guys, you're at a distinct advantage when you can talk about if you don't have anything experienced yet, but with the office, where we rank, locally, the team we have here, the coaches, myself, Rob, the support staff, all the other agents, and I think in yours, it does talk about 300 agents.
It does.
Yeah. In David's, it does talk about there's over 300 agents in the market center. All of those things, you guys, and emphasize that we are a team here. You may be working with me. All these other agents will help me out if I need anything. And that's not necessarily the case in a lot of offices. And for those of you who have been at different offices, you know that. So
I'd piggyback on that too, with not just your experience, but why did you get into real estate?
Why?
There's a lot of people in real estate that got into real estate because they had a terrible, situation or experience with the previous agent, and then use that as a driving force. Or I saw my mom, buy a house and she had a terrible, with my love of helping people, and I've always been interested, it was a natural fit or whatever the case may be.
So, all right. Anybody else online? Nobody. Good job, David. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Listings next time.
On the phone. Don't get off the phone.
He's around the corner now.
Nice. Anybody have any questions? I'm not sure. Has everybody seen this magazine? Hey, man, I got yours.
Is that the
Yes.
realtor magazine?
Trevor.
Are we supposed to have?
No, you don't have to have your own. Dude. Take your own. I just happen to get one. You guys, some of you actually got these sent to your house, which we can't figure out how that happened. Usually they come directly to the office and we pass them out. But if you got them, that's good. Have you looked at them? I guess is the more important question. Oh, and we're going to put that on hold. Trevor's here. Come on in, Trevor.
What's going on?
Join us. This is the laid back. You can stand or you can sit.
Have a seat.
All right. So what were you going to talk about today?
Command.
All right. Your command expert, you guys. He's going to enlighten you.
Let's do it. So there's a lot of things that I want to go over. First, I want to give you guys all the resources that you have outside of me, right? So there's just a couple resources that I want to go over. Is everybody familiar with ideas.kw.com? Anybody know ideas.kw.com? Okay, so so that's the first thing that I want to go over.
Sure.
Is show you guys what you guys can do as far as giving back to Keller Williams technology team and showing them what you need in command to grow your business, right? It's our job to help teach Keller Williams what we need. They don't just automatically know what we need as an agent. We have to tell them, right? So that's the first step. Second step is the YouTube channel. Has everybody been on our YouTube channel? Anybody not been on our YouTube channel? Okay, perfect. So we have a whole series for Dominate Command there. And what me and Jessica have done is gone through every single step of command, step by step, tab by tab, showed basically through every single process. And then we organized it, right? From what you would need first to then what you would need kind of as you grow your business, right? So then we went back and we created a video of how to start, right? And there's like 5 or 6 core things that everybody has to do to start getting into command, right? And that's creating your marketing profile, that's connecting your applications, that's creating the tags for your pipeline and how you're going to end up organizing your database, and then finally getting your contacts in there, right? And just like I've been going over with a lot of people on Dominate Command, like Daniel, Heidi, if she's in here, that we just did yesterday on Monday. The biggest thing that we've been doing is through a process called DTB2. Has anybody been through Bill? Is everybody familiar with DTB2? Okay, so I see a couple of head shakes of no. So what DTB2 stands for is do the database to. Number 2, because every week you do 2 letters of the alphabet. So for this week, it's actually A and W. I'm actually restarting week 1 this week, which is A and W. So this week, I select one day, which is Wednesday. So tomorrow, my main focus is reaching out and having a conversation with everybody in my database who their last name starts with A or a W. It's that easy. There's like 40 or 50 people. I'll simply go up, I'll create 40 or 50 separate tabs. And my only focus for that day is to get through and make sure that I'm touching those 50 people, right? Now, like on Y and Z, it's only like 6 people. So that's like an easy week. What this does is it allows you to make sure that every 13 weeks you touch every single person in your database, right? You will find there are so many people that you forgot to put a task on and you haven't called them in 6 months because they're just hidden in your database, right? I find so many of those people every time that we go through this, right? So if you have never organized your database, here is how you can start, right? Here's step 1. Start putting all of your contacts into command, right? Get everybody that you know simply into command, your phone book, Facebook leads, anybody that you can think of, put them into command. Now there's a really cool service that Jess actually offers. She will go for free. She will go into the back end of your command. She will create these 13 tags that you need. You don't even have to know what they are. And she will go ahead and organize your whole database based on these tags. She'll do that for free for you today if you want. Or I don't want to give it too much. but
Everybody
this
runs out
week,
there.
this week. She'll do it as fast as she can, okay? But she's really quick on stuff. Guaranteed. What this does is, for example, let's say you have 500 people in your database. It is very, very overwhelming to say, I'm going to go through 500 leads, sit down and go through 500 leads and organize my whole database. It's much easier to say, I have 40 people that I have to go through and I have a whole week to go through these 40 people, right? It allows you to then go deep. It allows you to then go to their Facebook page and see what their kids are doing. It allows you to ask for their home address to send them a smart plan about their neighborhood monthly update. It then allows you to go deep with them. Now you only have 40 versus 500. Does that make sense? And that is how you start. Then when you create other tags, just like you guys will see in the video, make sure you watch that first video, and I can have just posted on the Facebook page today so that it's kind of fresh for you guys. But once you go through every week, the first week you go through, you're going to be organizing that database. So you're going to be going deep, you're going to be adding tags, you're going to be doing everything possible you need to get that contacts database health score as high as possible. Yeah.
So you're saying Jess will go in and tag with like AW, so you can filter on that. Then we go in and add our own tags with family or friend or whatever.
Exactly. Any other tags that you guys want to use to organize your database file. And then as you go through, you can start with me this week, A and W, right? So if everybody committed to just simply setting this up this week, starting A and W next week, by 3 months from now, every person in here would have every contact in their database and organized, right? What's really cool about that is Command is building and growing every single day, right? They just went through a whole stabilization phase for about 60 some days to work on the bugs. What's really cool about that is they now get to innovate on top of that platform that they've begun to build. So you're going to see so much innovation coming out of Command over the next 6 to 12 months. And if you don't have your database already organized and all of this set up, you're going to miss out on so many features that you have to have this organized for it to be able to. Does that make sense? Yeah. Cool. What questions do you guys have for me about Command or any of that?
Actually,
Yeah.
I've been using a Twilio account and Smart Plans frequently with my leads. It's been awesome. Now, one of the things I find is I like to go back through my database and find the most recently contacted people that I've actually spoken with, had conversations with.
Yeah.
But while using the Smart Plans in Twilio, it pops up with the ones that have been on my Smart Plans as my most recent, and I'm digging real far to find the ones that I actually recently just had a conversation.
Gotcha.
Is there a way to separate those?
I'm curious, why do you want
contacts?
Yeah, why do you want to know who you recently contacted?
So I can follow up with certain people there if I might have had an appointment with them.
Gotcha. Okay,
If I'm
cool.
talking with, especially when it comes to leads, internet leads, Facebook leads, I've been doing pretty well with getting in leads, and the ones that I actually reach out and have a conversation with now get buried into Command because the other ones continue to follow up. I
Yeah.
have like 8 and 12 step leads or plans and smart plans. So the next day, 2 days later, 3 days later, I won't follow up. They're gone.
Good question. So a couple things on that, right? So how we make sure, there's two ways we make sure that nobody gets lost in our database, right? And that is the DTP2 tags. If everybody has that, we know that at most they'll go 13 weeks without being picked back up. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So for me, if I talk to a contact and I don't feel, if they tell me, let's say, for example, I'm not moving for 5 more years. Okay, well, I don't need to talk to them in the next 13 weeks before that I call them again. There's no urgency there. So I don't put a task on them. If that same person says, you know what, Trevor, call me in a month. I'm not ready right now, but I'm getting really close. I don't want to follow up in 13 weeks. So then I put a task, right? And the tasks are then very important because that's basically all your hot contacts. Everybody that you don't want to wait 13 weeks to contact. Right? So what you can then do is create a smart plan. So if you're already having a smart plan on those for sale by owner, or not for sale by owners, on those Facebook leads, then in the smart plan include a task. One of the steps could be a task that automatically pops up and say a week to follow up and call them again. Cool.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions?
We have to ask these people. Do any of you people have questions for Trevor? Are any of you people there? I got the real Warren.
we're
You got nothing for me?
We listen, Pete.
All right, Safe, what you got?
Hey, I do have, this is Hope. Good morning, everybody again. Trevor, I do want to know, are there any plans to integrate with other social apps outside of Facebook, like Instagram or?
That's a great question. I've been advocating for that for almost a year now, and really wanting to see that. If I can get some help from you guys, go to ideas.kw.com and you get to vote with me to make Instagram integrated with Command.
Thank you.
All right, nobody else? All right, thank you, Trevor.
Yeah, of course. And
All right.
again, Dominic Command will be next Monday or the 24th.
What are you bringing for food?
That's a good question. I'll get back to you on that. Pancakes, they're making pancakes.
Nice. All right, Brent, you want to talk?
I know we got to talk a little bit about the market, so the thing I continue to take away from these meetings, seeing what's out there and hearing your stories, you know, the overarching theme seems to be right now, strategy, tactics, and communication are key. Like in working with a team and partners that also embrace that approach to this business, having a strategy, not just getting somebody approved, yes or no, and getting them off the phone, but what's the strategy to get them approved and to make them a winner of a home? Like how do you put that together? How do you nurture that relationship? How do you get the client mentally prepared? What are the tactics in place to make that happen, technology wise, you know, follow-up wise, and then ultimately the communication. Like having a lender that gets involved helps you negotiate that deal, helps you second voice it, helps you, you know, get the appraisal, full appraisal that you can speak with the appraiser, give them the comparables versus the desktop option. Just all those things I think are really, really important right now. You know, those are what we're focused on. I just want to let you know we're very well aligned with.
I was just gonna say, you guys, these guys are rowing with us, not against us, okay? And that's a huge thing. I mean, if you're not using Brent and his team, then you need to sit down and talk to Brent and see what he can, have him tell you what he can do to help you. Because there is a huge difference if I'm on the other side and somebody's, you know, got a mortgage rep that they've dealt with, the agent, and they know what's going on. I'm more apt to take that off. You know, it's a huge thing. I mean, XYZ mortgage company, going back to our example, is not going to get the deal in most cases with the, you know, this is a small group of agents that do business here. They're not here, but in this area. And if you have relationships with agents, and it goes back to what I started with, if you're constantly fighting, or if you've got a bad reputation with clients out there, or not clients, but agents, good luck trying to get a house in a, you know, in a deal right now. So But if you're all rowing together and you've got the mortgage rep that people know about and they're comfortable with, you got a much better chance of getting your deal.
Pete, tomorrow, if you guys saw the calendar, tomorrow we have a class, we've shifted. We used to have roast my listing, which was an opportunity to talk about a listing of why, other than price, maybe it wasn't selling. Really haven't needed that the past year and a half. But we decided to pivot a little bit, and I think the title of it is "What did it take to get your offer accepted?" It's we're going to take a couple of different listings that had a lot of interest on them, peel back the curtain, because everybody asks, what do I need to do to compete? I know my buyers say that. What do I need to do? And we mastermind a lot, but it's kind of interesting seeing what the other 20 some odd offers offered, right? What were the terms of their offers? What did they put in terms of language, clauses, and waivers and price and stuff like that? So we'll take a couple of hot houses that sold, evaluate the offers, talk about them a little bit, and ultimately see which one won and why. So that's at 12 tomorrow in person or Zoom.
All right, Barb?
I say this every week, but this quick, we should get these into us. Obviously, things are moving very, very fast. So the many people will see, let's do pre-title. It doesn't cost you a single thing. It doesn't close, you don't change anything. So again, fast, get it, the paperwork in as quick as possible. And then, I don't know, Pete, maybe you want to touch, you tell us better to explain this stuff. The transaction we had the other day where these appraisal guarantees are tricky. And I'm not going to pretend that I totally understand those, but not getting those appraisal guarantees.
Yeah, Barb's talking about one of our agents. I won't say the name, that had an appraisal guarantee. I think it was 10 grand. You remember the price? Let's say it was up to 265. Okay. The appraisal came in $1,000 lower than would have hit the 265. So the price was 264. Okay. Guess what forgot to happen? No.
I know.
To who? Exactly. The title company is not mind readers. Okay. If nobody tells them that the new sales price is 264, it's going to come to the closing, and guess what their seller is going to get? Well, the seller wasn't going to get 264. Agent ate $1,000 to keep the deal together.
Luckily, it was only 1,000.
Yeah.
We didn't put it on.
Yeah. So it goes back to everything we've talked about, communication. It goes to the mortgage company. It goes to the title company. It goes to the other side. If you're not communicating, this is how problems happen. And Barb's right. The fact that it was only $1,000, nobody wants to lose $1,000. However, how do you go back to the seller or your client and say you screwed up? It's not their fault that you screwed up. It's your fault. And that's where you need to man up or woman up and take responsibility for your mistake. Now, innocent or not, that's what happened. Now, something else, you guys, with closings and the whole process, so this goes to our new people, our coaches, to everybody. You guys need to know we want to make sure you guys understand how the process works. Don't do a walkthrough an hour before closing. Okay. Get there 4 or 5 hours before closing, whatever it is. Everybody is on a tight time frame in our market right now. And there's buyers or sellers that are selling and buying the same day. Make sure that you're taking each step. If you've got to, walk through, do it the day before if you can, if the people are out of the house. Don't wait till the last minute. And this is my biggest beef ever. We were joking about what time did our meeting start today? The 9:30 or the 9:33 meeting? Or what would you guys do if we had a 9:30 meeting and I rolled in at 10:15 for the meeting? Would you guys be happy with me? Why do we think it's okay for us to bring our clients into closings 35, 45 hours late? Hours late, yeah, not 35 hours late, 35, 45 minutes or an hour late. That is common out there right now, you guys. And how would you like it, Daniel, if your closing was at 2:30 and Mike brought his guy in at 2:14, 2:15. And he needed to close that deal before their closer's tied up. Okay, I'm hearing this from all sorts of title companies. This isn't a legacy issue. This is, everybody's doing this. It's just, everybody thinks that they can go at their own time frame. It's called respect. Respect each other's time frames, you guys.
And then the closers rushed.
Right,
Yeah.
they
and
don't
that's
have
when
time to
mistakes
explain
happen.
everything, and then they have to get to another closer.
Right, and you know, the closer, and then we'll hear the feedback that, the closer didn't go over anything. Closer didn't have any time to go over anything because your client and you came rolling in 45 minutes late. I can't emphasize this enough that we are professionals here. Going back to what, I was going to bring this up, David, when we were talking about this, it set the table, set the standards, what the expectation is. The expectation is, you're supposed to meet somebody at 1:45 for a showing, they roll in at 2:30. You guys going to be happy? So why is it okay that we don't set the expectation for people? All right. I don't want to be, the bad guy. I'll let Rob be the good guy and I'll play the heavy here. But these are the things that just make our jobs difficult. So, want me to end on a positive? What's so funny, girls? Come on, share it. This is like school. Share it now. Come on, share with everybody. Everybody, that's right. All right. Well, we're running out of time. Let's do a couple of these real quick, then we'll get on. You don't even have to get to look at them. I'm going to bring up my contracts. Buy and sell agreements. I don't want you guys to look. Not right now. Then you can look at this. My buyer just entered into a purchase agreement to buy a home. The listing agent is continuing to market the seller's property. Can he do this? I want to see.
Can you read it again? I'm sorry.
My buyer just entered into a purchase agreement to buy a home. The listing agent is continuing to market the seller's property. Can he do this?
It's bottom line.
Has the offer been accepted?
The offer has been accepted. Yes.
No.
If it's on RPA, I think it's clause 29. Says
All right,
that you're supposed to mark a penny.
Here's the answer. Yes. The seller and their agents may continue to market a property even if they have entered into a binding purchase agreement unless, and I'm saying unless, the purchase agreement expressly prohibits them from doing so. Guess what RPA says? You can't do that, Mr. Agent on the other side. So that is a good thing, RPA. The agent must comply with MLS requirements and required status. Though. Yes.
Pending equals accepting backup offers in our PA.
No, our PA is very clear.
Pending.
Yeah.
So they can't.
They
even
accept
say
if they accept our purchase agreement. Unless they cross it out and you guys agree to it, they cannot keep it ABO.
Okay.
Are we clear on that one?
But what if they do?
Well, what if they do? What's the answer to that?
Call you?
No, you pick up the phone and you send them an email and kindly, not being an idiot, the first time, you don't get to be an idiot, and you just tell them, just so you know, I'm sending you over a copy of our purchase agreement that your seller signed. Please mark it pending.
I did that and they still marked it as accepting backup offers.
Well, then that's the first time you be kind. The second time, I don't be kind. I won't be kind, all right? People like to do that, but you know what? It's simply you and your client signed the purchase agreement saying that you won't accept backup offers, take it off the market, plain and simple. If they want to market it, take it out and everybody initials it, that's fine. Hey, we have one conversation here? Okay, that was a good one, you guys. Let's see. I don't like that one. How about this one? I'm representing a buyer in connection with the purchase of a home. The agreed upon closing date is on or before January 4th. My client is ready to close and wants to schedule the closing date earlier than January 4th. Is the seller obligated to close at an earlier date?
Go.
No, this language is typically interpreted to mean that while the parties can agree to close prior to the stated date, neither party can be required to do so. Again, we've taken that off the table by putting in a time frame that they have to close. Okay? It eliminates that. How many people have had that same scenario and the other side's pissed because I want to close now? There's no right or wrong answer at that point. That's why the PA was changed the way we did it. How about this one? This one's happened a few times. Our seller client has entered into a purchase agreement, but does not want to sell. My client has asked us to figure a way to get him out of the deal. Do you like the verbiage on that one? While you may know from your experience some ways to get your client out of the deal without liability, resist the urge to provide this type of legal advice. The appropriate answer to this question is to tell your client to speak to an attorney. In other words, don't manufacture something that we all joke about. That joke will turn into a lawsuit. Okay. And okay. I represent the seller as a listing broker. An offer came in from another office, but my seller is currently out of town and cannot be reached. The seller authorized me via telephone to accept the offer on my seller's behalf. Is this an enforceable contract?
No, it's not writing. It's not writing.
No, a broker can sign a binding purchase agreement on behalf of the buyer or seller only if he has explicit written authority to do so. Verbal authority over the telephone would not be, and not is capitalized, not be sufficient. A listing agreement by itself does not give the broker authority to his or her principal to contract for the sale of the land.
Would a text or email be? Email.
I would say email would work. It's in writing. Even though Kwame thinks text don't work, you might have an issue with text too.
Yes. Yes.
Here you go. This one just came up in one of the classes. I don't know if this was my pre-licensing one. Kate, I think this just came up. I am a realtor representing the seller on the sale of their house. They entered into a purchase agreement with the buyer yesterday. Today, the buyer's agent called me and said the buyer wishes to exercise his 3-day right of rescission. Does such a right exist?
Yeah.
Is there a 3-day right of rescission?
No.
9 days. I'm not sure.
I'm coming to Matt in a second. There's no 3-day right of rescission on a contract for the sale of real estate. However, Matt.
There's a 9-day on site condos in the state of Michigan. However, FYI, most builders
Will make you waive
that.
On new construction, site condos, there is a 9-day right of rescission. But Matt is absolutely right. They are going to say you need to sign off on that.
We'll give it to you, but we're gonna still market this house for sale.
That's right. All right. Do you have any you want to bring up, Matt?
I like this one.
And while you're looking, here's one. This comes up all the time. Online, I am representing a buyer who's made an offer on a home. The seller countered our offer with a clause stating that the buyer waive his right to inspection of the property. Is this permissible?
Only if you sign off.
The question is, can the seller put that in there? The seller is free to propose such a clause in a purchase contract and is up to the buyer to either agree or reject such a provision. What you have for me?
On the seller's disclosure statement, my sellers indicated that
Listen.
the microwave was in working order. The purchase agreement said nothing about a microwave. Is the buyer entitled to the microwave? No. The seller's disclosure form specifically states that items below are included in the sale of the property only if the purchase agreement so provides. So, correct. Regardless of what the seller's disclosure says, it has to be included in the purchase agreement. I don't care that it says built-in appliances, I still list them all.
What's the key to that too? And they don't really address it. Why do they even need to fill that out on the seller's disclosure?
Everything's negotiable, so they need to know the condition of everything in the house.
Correct. So if there's a fridge and the seller's planning on taking the fridge, it still has to be marked yes, or it works, or no, it doesn't. Because if I offer Daniel enough money and say I want the fridge, Daniel's gonna say, great, have the fridge. But I want to make sure it works before I write that offer.
How about this one, Pete? I represented the buyer in a transaction that did not close because the seller defaulted. I clearly produced a ready, willing, and able buyer. Can I collect a commission from the seller?
Oh, hold on, I like this one. What's the answer to that?
I represented the buyer.
You have a buyer's agent.
This, you guys, this one comes up a lot to me. I brought a buyer to the table. Can I collect my commission?
The answer is no. You did not have a contract with the seller. Your contract was with the listing broker through the MLS. Under MLS rules, a cooperating broker has no right to a commission from the listing broker if the transaction does not close for whatever reason.
Listing agent can collect though, right?
Right.
Correct.
What about a buyer with buyer, if you have a buyer's agent?
That's in our buyer's agency contract. And yes, if they default, you can go after them.
But the
Now,
seller,
here's one. I presented an offer from my buyer. However, the listing agent told me that the offer was not valid since the buyer's signature was not witnessed. Does an offer to purchase real estate require a witness signature?
Because the contract is buyer and seller.
Are you guys getting all this online?
Yes.
No, that was no, not to you, that was no to here. There are no legal requirements for witness signatures in a contract for sale of real estate. And that's where, in our technology, it used to be when you were sitting in front of somebody, you saw them sign it, you'd witness it. You're not seeing them sign it technically, and you don't need to witness it. And I don't know if Real Estate One is still doing this. Real Estate One used to not let their agents witness electronically. Are they witnessing it? Okay. Yeah, that was their big issue.
I think that makes sense. You're not witnessing it.
Well, right. The only way you're theoretically witnessing is at what? You're sending it to their email. That's it. But you're not seeing them. All right, you got one more?
I don't know if it's in there, but I think we've all kind of run into it with time limits on offers. Like, can you sign the time limit after, or I'm sorry, can you accept the offer after the time limit has expired? Or do you need a new purchase agreement?
That one's not in here, I don't think. My belief is if you sign it and they accept it, you're good.
But
That
if
would
they-
be mine.
If they were to say, yeah, we changed our mind, is it still illegal?
If they signed it,
And it was time
That's why
stamped
we have
after
to
the
Yeah.
expiration.
I think that they would still,
So as long
yeah,
as it's bottom line.
yeah, I would think that would happen. Here's one. I'm a realtor that just moved to Michigan from another state. The state I'm coming from requires a listing broker to make sure that an earnest money deposit is provided for each transaction. Is this required in Michigan?
Depends on what.
Does it depend on the contract?
Is there, the bottom line is, I'm gonna rephrase this. Do you need to have an EMD?
no, you do not.
Legally, probably.
While an earnest money deposit is typically provided as a matter of custom and is a good idea, it is not required in order to be a valid binding contract. The parties' mutual promise in a purchase agreement constitute sufficient consideration to create a binding contract. And Kate had heard this how many times in our class that I go over it repeatedly with them? Is all it says is valuable consideration. My good word could be valuable consideration. Now, none of you are going to be able to take my good word to the bank, are you? So that's why we have earnest money. All right. Last one, Matt, you get it.
I have a house listed. A buyer went directly to the seller with an offer which they accepted. Is it a valid purchase agreement?
Yes,
Is it in writing?
Assume so.
yes.
Yes, although the buyer went directly to the seller instead of the listing agent, there is still a valid purchase agreement. Assuming the contract was an exclusive right to sell, the seller still owes a commission.
So if you guys want to take yourself out of the work, let your buyers and sellers. Collect your commission. How's that? All right, thank you very much. I know it went longer than usual.
Thank you for the pancakes.
Try calling you back. There are still pancakes, you can nuke them.
So.
Or cold. Grab them.
My other stuff, Andrew's house, the dump.
Yes, the dump.
Yeah, he sent me this long ass email. He wants to be not, he doesn't want to be a personal seller, he wants to be trustee. So can I just put his name, comma, trustee for
Was it
the,
in a trust?
I've never done that before. I've always just put their name and then we produce the trust agreement. Yeah. Or, you know,
She
prior.
signed, is he the owner? Or is-
His mother
His mother
was.
was, so she's the trustee, so she's gonna sign, yeah, or he's gonna sign as trustee.
That's what I'm thinking.
I would
So-
just call Jennifer, Jenny, and ask down.
But I'm thinking, and I'll confirm with the title. I can put his name on the trustee. Yeah, it's pretty self.
Right, whatever, just ask Jennifer, like I said.
Now, I can do that.
So, thank you for the food.
Oh, yes, so my inspection is on
On what?
Southampton.
Which one? My sisters?
Yeah, the big. one. See how big that house is? It was less than an hour.
Who did it?
This guy's friend, there's a contract.
Was it fine?
Totally fine.
Well, and I want to talk to you.
I'll take that off.
We decided that at the AOC, we talk about making code law if they need something for like a certain field. And the reason is, yeah, and it's actually a really good, but a lot of to not stay on board because.
Yeah.